right, hello. I'm your host, Beyonce Scott, and today we have the pleasure of welcoming Tina Marie Jones, a licensed therapist specializing in mental health and well-being. Welcome, Tina Marie. It's a great having you on our show today.
Thank you so much for having me, Beyonce.
Absolutely. Well, today we're diving into the intricate world of mental health and exploring how social media can impact our well-being and offering some practical advice for our listeners. So let's just jump right in.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. What are some common mental health issues do you often see in your practice, especially in relation to technology and social media use?
So, I wouldn't say that I have disorders that are associated with social media use and technology, but there are some that can be exacerbated. The symptoms can be magnified.
Like what?
And triggered. Like, for example, if you're depressed already and you're thinking everybody else's life is greater than yours, if you're scrolling through and you're looking at everybody else's highlight reel, then that's going to really reinforce that you're not doing so great, or whatever thought you're having. I'm not doing so great and everybody else is doing wonderful, when in reality, people only show you the positive. They don't show you.
That's so true. That's so
They don't show you everything. You're seeing a highlight reel, right? If you have anxiety, and you're listening to some influencers who are doomsday experts. We'll call them doomsday experts. And the world is ending tomorrow. They're trying to kill us. Then your anxiety is going to go all the way up. You know what I'm saying? So mental health disorders, I always tell people, your mental health influences how you think, how you feel, and how you act or behave, right? So, and some of these can be hereditary, some of these can be circumstantial. So if it's either one of those situations, if you're on social media, it can trigger these symptoms, these negative symptoms that you don't want to experience that aren't healthy for you.
Oh yes, I'm definitely one of those doomsday persons. I'll watch videos, just keep scrolling and scrolling. I mean, I started stocking up on water and everything.
Listen.
So you should see, my husband was like, why do you have 5-gallon jugs of water in that? I was like, because it's going to be doomsday.
You'll thank me later. And
the
it's like,
apocalypse is zombies and stuff is coming. So how do you approach treating individuals who are struggling with mental health issues exacerbated by social media?
So I don't do a one-size-fits-all approach. I really talk to my clients and see what the issue is, right? So if they are following like our doomsday influencers, right, and you have anxiety, let's roll back on that a little bit, right? And I'll take a look at, what are you doing when you're watching social media? Because most of the time, if we're on social media, are we bored? Because I know I'm on there when I'm bored, right?
That's true.
Or if I'm waiting for something and you're just doing that, or is it something you're doing when you're getting ready for bed? So if it's something you're doing when you're getting ready for bed, for example, let's find a new bedtime routine.
That's true.
This can be a little bit healthier than what you're doing now. So before all of that, though, I would say you want to link up with a therapist.
Okay.
Because a good therapist is going to help you with accountability. It's going to help challenge negative thoughts and give you the tools that you need, the healthy coping tools that you need. Because we all have naturally instinctive coping tools, but they're not the healthiest all the time.
Okay. So let's talk about, like, with holidays, Mother's Day and Father's Day are back to back, and a lot of people have lost their parents recently because with COVID and everything. So like when people are scrolling on social media and seeing all these posts and stuff with people with their moms and dads, how would you help your clients kind of deal with that? Because you want to be happy for other people, but you're also sad as well because you've lost a parent.
So it's okay to take a break from social media. Okay. And if you recognize, the key is recognizing when these things are happening, these feelings are overwhelming. So if you know around about that time that's very sensitive and the feelings of sadness and grief are the strongest, you can take a break. It's okay to take a break and pull back, right?
That's true.
They'll understand. You know what I'm saying? And two, that will tell me that you're grieving still. And you haven't probably found a healthiest way to grieve.
Ooh. What would be some, I guess around this time, what would you suggest as far as like healthy ways to grieve during this time where people are sharing all these posts with their parents and you don't have yours?
So I usually tell people, and there's different steps to the grieving process, so I have to find out where you are in your grieving process, right? But you can always remember your loved ones in a different way. You know, they're going to social media to celebrate grandma or mom who's still here or dad who's still here. What would you think that your mom and dad want to do? Is there a special meal that they liked? You know, is there something special that you all did, right? You can probably incorporate things like that to celebrate their lives still, because you still miss them. And that's something, the healing process is different for everybody,
So
you know? So it's like, that's why I'm going back to the therapist. You'll hear me sing the song of finding you a good therapist. You're gonna hear me sing that loud and often, because a good therapist is going to be your accountability partner. Having a good therapist is like the equivalent of having a good family doctor, a good dentist. Like, everybody should have one. You don't want to wait until you need one to get one, you know?
I think there's a lot of stigma around therapists and like, oh, it's only for like people who are just really off the deep end and who are really, really struggling and down out. But like, what do you recommend a therapist for, as far as like just something simple as like, oh, I'm having anxiety with work? Do you recommend going to a therapist for things like that?
Yes, I definitely do. A therapist isn't just for when things go bad, it's for maintenance. You know, everybody deals with life. You know, it's somebody that's that can hold you accountable, that can give you an outside opinion on what's going on, you know, and kind of can help you challenge negative ideas if there are any, you know, help you think through things. Sometimes, you know, talk therapy is all you need. Everybody doesn't need medication. Everybody doesn't need, you know, a therapist because they are off the deep end or whatever, or you have a diagnosis, you know, like sometimes a talk therapist can help you just work through everyday life problems. We all experience life, right?
Yes.
And everybody's in different stages of life.
That's so true.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, maybe you're a mom, a single mom, and you're like, how do I manage being a single parent and manage my career at the same time? You know, or I'm a new mom and I have a 2-year-old and I'm trying to figure out how to be a good parent without putting my hands on them and catching the case, you know?
So terrible twos.
Right, it's like, no, this is a normal behavior and this is how you can handle that without, you know, putting your hands on people or corporal punishment, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? So they can help you with things like that.
Okay.
So make a mental health practitioner a part of your care team. And they'll let you know, okay, you only need to talk to me every so often, or you need to talk to me, you know, a little bit more often than what we're doing right now. They'll give you good ideas as to how it needs to work out.
I like the idea of like, it's for maintenance as well. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's like, you know what? I've talked to my husband, he doesn't really want to listen, or I talk to my, you know, friends and they have their own problems and stuff. So having someone that you can just go to that's dedicated to just helping you with your situation, I think that's really, really great.
And I will say, we go to our friends, and a lot of times our friends aren't qualified to help us for real.
Ooh.
You know? They're qualified to be our friend because we chose them and, you know, we have so much in common. But giving you some unbiased opinion or feedback about a situation, that's not their expertise typically. You know what I'm saying? So you want somebody who will give you unbiased feedback, and a good therapist will challenge you according to what you believe, as opposed to what even the therapist believe. Because a lot of times my clients don't know what my position is on anything. You know, sometimes if they ask me, okay, I might, if I think it's okay. But sometimes if it's not necessary and it's something that you really need to make a decision on yourself, we'll talk it out and you'll come up, because I think that you have the answers according to where you want your life to go.
That's
right?
true. And sometimes our friends, we know what they're going to say. We just want them to reaffirm, but sometimes the affirmation can be negative, and we don't sometimes need that. We need someone to challenge us as well.
And you got that friend that's going to support whatever you say you're going to do, which is not always good, you know? Exactly. She's like, yeah, girl, let's get him. And it's like, now both of y'all sitting in jail. And you don't want those kind of problems,
No,
you know?
definitely don't. Us serving 5 to 7 years.
Right. It's like, all because y'all best friends and she going to support you regardless. And that's okay, but that's not the role of a therapist. So get you a therapist to keep everybody out of jail and keep everybody safe
and keep everybody healthy.
and healthy and living their best life.
So let's go back to like mindless scrolling, because sometimes when we're feeling those negative thoughts, we tend to get on social media, just scroll, because we're just trying to block out some of our day. What impact do you believe it has on mental health when you just constantly mind scrolling, maybe trying to avoid some of the issues that you need to start making the decisions on?
Well, there's a few things. One, mindless scrolling and you trying to avoid a mental health issue can often trigger negative symptoms. Mm-hmm. And I tell people all the time, it's not having a therapist because you have a mental health diagnosis isn't the problem. What usually becomes the problem is what you do, right?
Yeah.
Because you haven't had this area treated or addressed, It's not that you get angry that's a problem. It's what you do when you're angry that's the problem. Mm-hmm. And then by that time, because you damaged so many relationships, now you need therapy, and everybody else knows you need therapy. Whereas before, you needed therapy. If you go ahead and be proactive with it, a lot of those things can be like, I say headed off or redirected,
Yes.
and put in place. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Definitely does. Are there any positive aspects of social media use for mental health that you've observed in your practice?
Yeah, so I don't think that everything's all bad. Everything isn't all good. Like, social media has its place for the creatives out there. I know for me, I go to social media, like I said, when I'm bored, if I'm waiting, because I just hate sitting and waiting. That's one of my flaws. I don't like to sit and wait for nothing. I'm at the doctor's office, and I'm like, oh gosh, I got to sit here and wait my turn. You know what I'm saying? So we sit there, or at night even, when I'm, getting relaxed and unplugging from the day. I like to watch, for example, the cooking shows or my different chefs that's like cooking food that I'll never cook, but I would want to taste. And maybe one day I can, save up enough money and have them come and cook for me, because this is great, So it has its place, and it's a place for creators. It's a place for people to pass information, but you have to approach social media knowing that everything that's out there is not true and accurate and real.
True.
Okay? People curate what they want you to believe or what they want you to see.
That's very
So
true.
I can be broken living in my car, and you have no idea. I want you to think I'm living my best life and I'm traveling from city to city. Yeah, I might be traveling from city to city, but I'm living in my car because I don't have another place to stay. I'm not going to tell you that, because that's not what I want you to see.
Wow. Yeah, that's interesting.
Right? So it's like I'm only going to put out there what I want for you to see. So looking at other people's highlight reel is very dangerous, and comparing yourself to others. I'm from a generation, we didn't have social media growing up. Right?
I didn't have it until like college area.
Exactly. Facebook didn't come out until like I was in college the first time. And I said the first time, so that's like 2005. So it's like I lived a whole, good 20 years plus without having any social media. So we didn't have to worry about the things that our kids have to worry about today. I didn't have to see all the time, every time I turn around, the person that, we have a personality conflict and we kind of compete against each other unconsciously. I didn't have a place to always look at what they were doing. Now with social media, it's just a click away, and you can make a fake profile and follow somebody just to see what's going on, because people do that because they get, for different reasons, the human factor kicks in. Yes. I want to know, but I don't want them to know that I know.
Exactly.
And, that's when it goes downhill. That's when it starts, you got to pull back a little bit.
That's true.
I
feel like that's also something that some people really don't really think about. Like the generation now have social media always, and it's like when we grew up, I really didn't know what my friends were doing, and so like I wonder, does that affect a lot of children? Because you hear a lot of children that are depressed, sad. I've heard about more younger people committing suicide more so than I've heard about, when we were actually growing up. I don't know if that's just news that we're being exposed to more, but like I wonder if that has like a significant impact on how children are being reared now with social media.
I believe it definitely does, because it impacts your social skills even, right? So like, let's take cyberbullying.
Yeah.
We didn't have to deal with cyberbullying, right? We had to deal with bullies.
Yes.
But we didn't have to. Once we were home was the safe zone until you go back to school or wherever you're going, and then you have to engage in it again with social media and cyberbullying. This person, and they don't even have to see the effect of what they're doing.
That's so
You know,
true.
they don't have to see. They might know that this is damaging to you, but they don't see the tears. They don't see the nights that you're staying up and what it's doing to your mental health. A lot of times with kids, they don't even understand the concept of mental health because that part of their brain and those skills haven't developed yet. You know?
What age do you, I'm not going to say age, but like around what time frame do you feel like children start to develop that sense of awareness as far as being empathizing with, you know, people that are hurting or, you know, who are being bullied?
It varies from different kids. And it's always, I always say it's a learning process as they go. Because your brain itself isn't fully developed until you're in your 20s.
Okay.
Right? So you have to be taught certain things. Kids know what sad is, you know, the surface level sad.
Yes.
But they don't know the long term. They don't have the ability to look at long term effects of anything.
Oh, wow.
You know? So that's why you see them, they're playing video games, for example, and the character dies, but they refresh the screen, or they plug the game in and play again tomorrow and the character's back there. They haven't really developed. They know that, okay, somebody's dead, they're gone, but it doesn't set in. It really doesn't set in until they experience it. So they can do certain things with the expectation that it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
You know?
That's amazing.
So it's like, man, with the cyberbullying, they don't really understand. They just, you know, this is my friend, she's not my friend. And, you know, they're doing things that kids do. You know,
But
we're
now it's
picking
on
on
a
each other.
world scale because not only does the school see it, the community and sometimes the entire world can actually see it because it can go viral.
It can go viral, and that's where that's where things get a little sticky and things get a little dangerous because now the whole world sees me in this way. So think about a teenager who's learning to, you know, coming into their own personality and trying to figure out who they are in the world, you know, what role they hold in their family and in society, you know, and then somebody puts out negative information about them and they don't really understand that this is temporary. This is a season and you can make it through. They haven't been given those skills because maybe the parents haven't been given skills. You know, a lot of times kids can only get what their parents have.
But a lot of parents probably not even used to how social media can be impacted by it as well because we didn't grow up with it. So like we don't, just like you were saying that we don't see, or the kids don't see how it can affect them because they're not in person, they just put it online. Parents may not understand the long-term effects as well because they're not seeing the person in person as well. Right.
So you thinking your child is in the bed asleep and they up on social media and they're watching, for example, there's these things where kids are recording fights and putting them on online, right?
Yes.
So they'll curate a whole conflict just to have footage to go online. And this is going around and round and people are making memes out of it. You know what I'm saying? And mom has no idea because she's not really on your social media like that. She's not clued into social media like that. Exactly. But these are the negative images that you see going over and over and over. How do you feel? How does that make you feel? You know? Exactly. You're embarrassed. You're sad. I don't want to go back to school anymore. You know, those things that we felt, but now it's intensified.
Yes.
You know? Because of what's been put out there and what's been perpetuated. So it's like... social media can be your friend, but it can be your worst enemy too. You just gotta keep it at bay.
Definitely gotta learn how to navigate. I think this is all still fairly new to everyone, parents included. I mean, even though children have grown up with it, it's still fairly new, and the long-term effects of like what it will do 20 and 30 years down the road.
Yeah, they're just starting to do the studies now because it's been out long enough for you to start looking at the implications of social media, you know, and what the negative impacts are because we didn't have it before. So it's interesting of watching how people navigate or learning to navigate, but they're learning to navigate because of the negative outcomes of certain things. Like they're being forced to look at it now,
Yes.
if that makes sense.
Exactly. Because a lot of, like I said, a lot of kids and stuff are depressed, sad, and sometimes even suicidal, and it's very, very sad to see. Wow. So, you know that this is Mental Health Awareness Month. What significance do you attribute to Mental Health Awareness Month, and how do you believe it helps in addressing mental health issues? Like, why is this month so important to kind of acknowledge?
Because of the intentionality. I love that we, during anything that's declared a month or is given a month for, you're intentionally making it front and center. And I think it's because of the stigmas that are out there, people need to be educated about it, you know, and put out there. And it needs to be normalized. Getting a mental health practitioner on your team needs to be normalized, you know, so that it can be second nature. And it's just as second nature as going to the dentist is every 6 months, you know. Even though most of us might not go every 6 months, you know, it's normal to go, right? It's not a stigma against going to the dentist. It's not a stigma against going to see your family practitioner. It shouldn't be a stigma to go to see a mental health practitioner as well.
Because, like you said, maintenance.
It's maintenance.
Just to kind of, you know, hey, I'm going through this. I just need someone to talk things through. And sometimes you can even just go maybe once or twice a year. But, like, you know, I will probably want to go, you know, once a month or so. Just, you know, because things come up all the time. So.
Once a month, once every other month. Like I said, if you get with a provider, they'll be able to give you an assessment to see where you are. Getting a psychological assessment, I'm a big fan of those. So because they have tools, the psychologists, they have tools that will give you a thorough assessment of what's going on, taking into account the environment, taking into account the different things that's happening in your life. So you'll have a good idea of what's happening. So you know how to address it and to stay up on top of it.
Kind of break down that process of like what it's like to be introduced to your therapist and what like an initial consultation will look like. Because for maybe someone who's out there who's listening, who let's say is thinking about wanting a therapist but kind of nervous about the process or unsure of the process or thinks the process is, you know, crazy and out there, like give them some reassurance that it's not as hard as you think it is or as scary as you think it is.
So one of the things that a lot of new clients think when they come to me is therapy is something I'm doing to them, right? They think, well, I don't want somebody getting into my head. You know, they think I'm going to get into their head and do something. And then it's like, no, therapy, I'm giving you tools. I'm helping you. I'm pointing out what the issues are and giving you tools on how you can address these, you know, issues on your own. Because eventually, I don't want you to have to rely on me. I want you to be able to manage yourself. You know what I'm saying? So that's the first thing I tell them. Second, finding a good therapist, it's a relationship. All therapists aren't created equal. So there's a period of building rapport, is what we call it. We're building a relationship. You're getting to know this person and they're getting to know you. And you could determine if, you know, do I trust this person? Because if a person is going to be walking with you intimately, you know, and you're telling this person things that you can't tell anybody else, you know, because they are bound by confidentiality to keep your business to themselves and out of the streets. You still want to be able to trust them, right? So finding a therapist that you trust.
Okay.
And sometimes, and that takes a couple of sessions to find out, okay, do I trust this person? Okay. You know what I'm saying? Just like when you meet somebody for the first time, unconsciously, you start sitting down and you have lunch or dinner with them or you meet them at a party. By the time y'all finish talking, you know whether or not you want to talk to them again or not, right?
Exactly.
Nobody has to teach you how to determine if I want to talk to this person, if I don't ever want to talk to this person. It's the same thing with your mental health therapist.
Okay.
If you have insurance, if you go to your insurance website, usually though, and you put your address in, they usually have something on their website where you put your address in and they give you the therapists that are in the area, right, for you to call, ask them if they're taking new clients and what the process is, right? So usually what's going to happen if they are taking new clients, they'll get you an appointment. They're going to want to give you an assessment, right? The assessment just to see what services they can provide for you, if you need services, you know, and what that would look like. They're going to ask you questions, and they're going to let you know you can give as much information as you feel comfortable giving.
Okay.
And I would give them be honest with them. I wouldn't say withhold information just because you're not comfortable, because I know a lot of people withhold vital information, but give them enough information to help make a decision on what kind of care to give you. Okay. You might not need to go into detail about anything. Yes, I've experienced abuse. You don't have to tell them exactly what kind of, you know, abuse you've experienced. So you might be able to tell them, yes, it's been sexual abuse or physical abuse or emotional abuse, but you don't have to go into details about the circumstances, right? Because that lets them know, you know, that's vital information for them to help you with your treatment process, right? So they'll give you that assessment, and they'll determine from there, like, what services they recommend for you to have, how often they recommend seeing you. Sometimes it starts off a few sessions, you know, first 8 sessions, we're going to see each other every week or every other week or whatever. And then the more times we go and we build that foundation, now we're seeing each other every month. Okay. Or, you know, and it kind of tempers off. It can go to quarterly or whatnot. But getting started is often, like, that's the biggest step to take with anything, is getting started. Okay. You know? Was that clear?
Yeah, that was good.
Because I know it's a lot.
No, that's good. That's good. So we're going to take a quick break to hear from some of our sponsors. And when we get back, we're just going to dive right back in. How about that?
Okay, let's do it.
Sounds good. Building expectations exists to help you live a life with purpose on purpose. Whether it's gaining clarity, developing action plans for achieving your goals, or just reorganizing the world around you, they provide a custom and holistic approach to being your accountability partner and offering unwavering emotional support. Their services also include workshops and training classes for organizations who serve in the social service or mental health arenas. This includes consultation services, curriculum development, needs assessments, and program design or redesign. For more information, visit www.buildingexpectations.com, or you can email them at info@buildingexpectations.com, or give them a call at 678-826-2079. All right, so we're back with Tina Marie Jones, a licensed therapist, helping us with our mental health and well-being. We're talking about the process of, you know, initiating of our first consultation, our first contact with a licensed therapist. And you were talking about, you know, it's like building a relationship. So within a relationship, you know, we like, oh, that's a red flag, and we're ready to cut someone off, you know, after the first conversation with them. Should people give like a certain amount of time with a therapist before saying, okay, this may not work, I may need to find another one? Like, what do you recommend?
Well, the first few sessions, like I said, is more building rapport, building a relationship. Okay. So it shouldn't be, unless you want to dive right in and start addressing some things, it'll be really light. Okay. You know, you're getting to see this person's personality, they're getting to see your personality, and you'll get to determine whether or not you're comfortable. Okay. Right? And that's instinctual. That's not something anybody has to let you know, like, okay, give it a few sessions. Or if somebody in the first couple of sessions you already know this is not going to work, okay, you know, say, hey, is there any other, you know, start looking at other options, you know, before. But during the first couple of sessions, they're letting you know what the process is going to be like, what to expect. They're asking questions about what it is that you like, how your learning style is. And, you know, if you don't know what your learning style is, that's something that y'all probably going to walk through in therapy. Because some people like to read information. So, you know, your therapist will probably give you more educational material because you like to read. But some people like, I don't want that. If I wanted to know all of that, I would have went to school for it. So it's like, okay, so I got to come at you a little bit different. You know, so we're kind of getting the idea of how I can apply treatment during those first few sessions.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. In what ways can individuals, communities, or organizations effectively raise awareness about mental health wellness during this month? And maybe with some resources that can, you know, people can actually kind of turn to.
So there's quite a few things we can do during the month. If you are an organization, normalize it. Are you offering information in a newsletter and emails, blasts saying, talking about mental health awareness? Do you offer, if you have insurance, some employers offer insurance, is it covered? Letting people know what benefits they have through the company. You know what I'm saying? Just normalizing it, that conversation of normalizing it. Workshops. Your local library is a plethora of ideas. If you don't have a library card, I know back in the day, libraries aren't what they used to be. They kind of amped up. They're keeping up with the times here.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so they'll let you know a lot of times about the free resources that are available in the community. So a lot of libraries know about mental health resources that are out there.
Wow, I did not know that.
They'll have it. So especially here in Atlanta, you got the Fulton County library system. Each county has their own library system. They'll usually have a wide connection or a wide web of a wide network of resources, or they'll know somebody that knows somebody that knows something about it. I promise you.
Wow.
And as far as individuals, a lot of times you can also find therapists by recommendation. So, kind of normalizing it in your conversations, not making it, because things have that stigma because of how people in society react and respond. So if you have a best friend who's going to therapy and y'all have open and honest conversations about it, it's normalized to going. If they're talking about, well, oh, she crazy, or uses, we use these figure of speeches sometimes. I still have to catch myself. Like, normalize it. Make it okay to go see someone.
Yes.
As opposed to running from it. Just because you need to, everybody needs to speak to a therapist. Even therapists have therapists. Let me just let the cat out the bag, okay? Even therapists have therapists.
That's good.
Because we have to, there's some things that I like to call your blind spot. I'm working with people every day. I'm helping people get from A to Z in their lives. I have a life as well. I have emotions as well. I have challenges as well. I have goals. I have things that make me happy, sad, things that I can't. I have challenges myself. And sometimes I need that outside support as well, And if you're helping somebody, you need somebody. We love at Building Expectations, which is my company. We help people, but we also help people that help people. You know what I'm saying? Because just because you're a helper, it doesn't mean you're exempt from helping.
Okay. So do you recommend, like, I've been seeing like ads and stuff about like BetterHelp and like Alma and stuff. They're like virtual therapists. I don't know if like all of them are licensed, but like, do you recommend if like someone can't go in to an office to reach out to one of those type of companies?
Yes, I do recommend it. And a lot of them have, I'm a fan of the reviews on some of those platforms, looking at the reviews and of who's available and who's not. And a lot of times, like I said, if you meet with a therapist and it's not a good fit, you can meet with someone else. That's not a big problem. You know what I'm saying? I like for people to do their research and see who's available through your insurance, because usually if they're on your insurance panel, they're legitimate as well.
Okay.
I also would say word of mouth. I think I've said that already. If I didn't, word of mouth. So if that is an open conversation that your friends and family are having about who they're speaking to, look at that. Okay. If you don't have insurance, some places have what they call sliding scale fees that can give you a fee that you can afford according to what your income is.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So if you don't have insurance and you got to pay out of pocket, look to see what their fee is for out of pocket cost, right? And sometimes that dictates who you talk to as well.
Okay. And so what advice do you typically give clients to maintain healthy relationships, with work and with social media and just technology in general to kind of safeguard their mental well-being?
All things in moderation, right? Too much of anything is not okay. It's not good. So I would definitely, like for me, I have my work phone is Android, my personal phone is an iPhone. Both of those phones have features on iPhone. I believe it's called, give me a second, it's screen time, I believe it is.
Oh, yes.
If you go to your settings, yes, it's screen time. And on my Android, I think it's called digital wellness. And both of those kind of help you manage your screen time. Lets you know, it can keep track according to how you set it up. What apps are you spending time on? You can actually limit your time on certain apps where, you know, it'll cut it off for you or block the access. It'll quiet the notifications at a certain time, so you're not even, you got to be intentional. Intentionality is key.
And don't hit the snooze button when it tells you it's time to.
Don't hit the snooze button. Don't hit it too many times, right? So it's like, let's just be mindful of it. If you notice that you're spending hours on social media and you don't want to be spending hours, go through one of those apps on your screen and kind of manage that a little bit better and replace it with something else. So I always tell people, if I'm going to say no to something, I have to replace it with something else. Otherwise, there's a void there, and you're going to be likely to go back to it.
That's
right?
such good advice.
So if you're doing it, say at night, part of your bedtime routine, like for me, if I'm going to say I'm not going to spend that much time on social media, what am I going to spend time doing?
Okay.
I could spend time reading a book. I can spend time watching a TV show. I can spend time doing something else, stretching, exercising, you know, something else instead of being on social media.
Okay.
You know, and that's how you build up a habit to, you know, replace something else. Because it's not, like I said, it's not all bad. It's just spending all of your time on it is all bad.
Okay.
Set an alarm.
So, just, you know, starting to wrap up, like, what resources do you recommend for individuals seeking more information or support regarding mental health and social media use?
So, always finding a therapist.
Okay.
Because different therapists, they have access to certain resources, right? And according to what the issue is that you have with social media. Your library, going to different groups. If you spending too much time on social media, it's social media. So people are replacing their social habits with scrolling through the media. Find something else more social to do. You know, I used to say, let's go to Meetup. I would be an advocate of Meetup because Meetup have different groups that, you know, cater to different interests. You know, if you like to hike, let's find a group outside that likes to hike. You know, if you like baking cakes, let's find a group that like to bake. Doing something that's not just on social media, because that's another thing, it's damaging people's ability to socialize with other people. You know, you're losing those social skills because people like to hide behind something. I don't have to interact with a person because it might be too awkward. So if people who have social anxiety, you know, that's kind of reinforcing it. I don't have to ever go out. And it's like, well, you do have to interact with people. You got to go to the grocery store. You got to know how to talk to people and work it.
Well, you know.
Exactly. So it's like it's making it too much of a good thing, too much of anything. Because it's like, but you still. What about if you open the door and the Instacart person is there? What are you gonna say to them? Are you gonna slam the door? Right.
So I look out the window, wait till they leave.
See, and it's like reinforcing this social. So you using it again to replace your social interactions, and I'm like. And for those people, I'll be like, okay, so now we're going to up your social engagement. And I said, instead of using Instacart 3 times a week, we're going to go down to 2 times a week, and we're going to go into the grocery store. And if you find, and people will do something, if I gave an assignment like that, they'll probably be like, well, I just won't go to the grocery store that many more times. So it's like, I'm right there with you. Let's not go use Instacart again until you use the grocery store.
Well,
I'm sorry, just keeping it like light, but that's basically the gist of what's happening with people.
No, I definitely get it. Cause like, you know, I'm a extroverted introvert, so I can be extroverted when I need to be, but I prefer to be introverted. So, you know, I've been trying to take baby steps and like being more social, but oh goodness, I love the comfort of just being in my house by myself. So what are some of like your final thoughts and final advice for listeners who are kind of struggling with replacing, you know, social interactions with social media and kind of mindlessly scrolling to avoid certain issues in their life?
So I would definitely say, get you a therapist, friend. You know, that's number one. Find a good therapist so you can incorporate them in your routine. One. Two, slowly but surely, being aware of how much time you're spending, you know, then you can make some changes there and make slow changes. You know, anytime you say, I'm not allowed to do something, that's the thing that you really want to do. But if you say, I'm just going to cut back, what does cut back mean? Well, you got to know how often you're on social media in the first place to say that you're going to cut back. So you can actually measure if you're actually cutting back or not, you know, and what your habits are like. Those, the settings, those apps on your phone will let you know how often you're on, what times you're on, how many hours you're spending on. So say it shows that you're spending 5 hours of your day on social media. Okay, let's make it, let's shoot a goal to go for 4 hours, you know, a day. And make that, and once you get to 4 hours consistently, let's turn it down some more. So it's having a friend, a therapist friend, that's what I call them. They will help you with accountability and help you set realistic goals that are manageable for you. Okay?
Well, thank you so much, Sina Marie, for joining us today. We hope that you all have gained a lot of insight from our licensed therapist. You provided a really great tips, some that I'm going to try to implement myself. Remember, taking care of your mental health is a journey, and it's okay to seek support along the way. Small changes in habits and your surroundings can make a big difference. If you ever need an additional support, do not hesitate to reach out to a therapist, a mental health professional. Reach out, look at our website, watch our social media. We will be providing more resources. Until next time, we ask you guys take care and be kind to yourself. Have a good one.